So, do you all remember what chapter? We are at the fair end of Bhagavad Gita on the third module. So, which chapter are we in?
15th chapter, Purushothama Yoga.
Very nice. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. So, I was asking you all a question about the chapter, last time when you were actually, when I finished the 14th chapter, I said there's a speciality of this chapter because until then, everything becomes more of theory. But this chapter is very exclusive because you will have a practical application of the chapter. Did you experience that? Were you lucky to come across people where you were thinking, oh, this is not my, this is the person in mode of goodness. This is a person, in a way, very judgmental, but in a healthy way. Did you all experience that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Mataji.
You did, right? So makes you call me anything, whatever suits you, no problem. So, so that's the, so that's something which I experienced. So I'm glad that, we are all in the same place. So, yeah. So let me start off with the prayers and quickly start. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjala Chalakaya Chakshurun Milisham Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadatikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopishu Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthana Bhutale Srimadi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pachata Desatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vatsadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Come on, all of you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna to everybody, and let's jump into the 15th chapter, the Yoga of the Supreme, Purushothama Yoga, very important, and I hope Dia, your throat is back so that we can all relish your nectarian.
Yes, Mataji, now it is okay.
Beautiful chapter, so good to hear from you. So let's pay our obeisances to Shri Radha Govind. And chapter 14, as I said, is the first chapter, which at least I personally experienced a practical application. It was this, right? And which talks about what makes us behave in a particular fashion. So it talks about the three modes. So what are the three modes? Very basic, but very important.
Sattva, Raja, Tama, goodness, ignorance, and passion.
Exactly. So perfect. So in both languages you told. Thank you so much. Cool. So so what happens? And these are the three modes which actually bind us and constantly have a race. So of the three, which is the most powerful mode?
Mode of goodness.
Mode of goodness is the best mode. But which is the most powerful? If there is a race between the three modes, which will? Any guesses? Which is what everybody guesses, because passion is more determined. But actually there is an equal race between various modes, and it's more specific to time. For instance, if you take 4 o'clock in the morning, mode of goodness will win because it's more dominant there. And if you take night, mode of ignorance will win. So which is why when we say we do japa in the night, you feel, even if you're not sleepy, and even if someone is a night bird, the person will not have so much of concentration as someone will have it in the morning. So this is the power of the mode of, typically mode of goodness. So all of them are constantly fighting for power and position, and eventually this is what succeeds, right? So that is what is a recognition. And what happens during death? In mode of goodness, someone reaches heaven, and mode of ignorance, obviously hell. But what is very for us is transcend the modes, which is what is the question. So therefore, Krishna tells how do we transcend the mode? Very similar to the second chapter of Sthitatir Muni. Now we are jumping into the 15th chapter, which talks about, because the 14th chapter does what? It talks about you have to transcend the modes. Okay, fine, but then clearly explain how do I transcend the modes? Because here it talks about mode, as you said, goodness, passion, and ignorance. But we should understand that it is all in layers, and who's occupying the first mode and who's in the right. So the first one. So the first one which we are talking about is the material world. So what is the material world? The material world is an exact reflection of the spiritual world. So it's like upside down banyan tree. So now I know it's very confusing, but let me just, as I explain the chapter, you will start understanding, right? So the entire chapter I'll show in the picture, which is in my DP behind. And Purushothama Yoga is going to talk about the transmigrations. We saw this 84 lakh species and how we will transmigrate from one to another, and also Krishna's position as the maintainer. So how can, what's Krishna's position as a maintainer? And also Purushothama Yoga, the three shlokas, right? The various things which are there, which are summarized here, which we saw in the 10th chapter, right? The Chatur Shloka. Similar to that, you will experience three shlokas, which more or less mirrors the same concept, which is Prayojan, what we are talking about, Sambandha, Abhinaya, and Prayojan. So let's move on to the first part of section, where it becomes detached for the material world. So what is the reflection of the spiritual world? So first, you are detaching yourself from the material world. So why, we all know, how is what we are going to see. So we'll hear 15.1. Yes, you can go ahead and chant Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I'm not able to see the screen, the shloka on the screen.
Not able to see the just
no, it's still in the first.
Okay, I'm just redoing it. Just
Shri Bhagavan Urdhvamoolamadha shakham ashvatham prahuravyayam chandansi yasya paranani yastam veda savedavit. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
I'm so happy, very beautifully chanted, back in action. So somebody can read, please. Hare Krishna, Bhumika, please go ahead. Can you read? Will you be able to unmute?
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you so much, dear. Go ahead.
Yeah. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So the entire thing is about the picture which is here, right? So if I show you the picture, you will be able to. Let me see. There is a separate picture. Yes. Can you see this picture? So this is the reflection, which is the spiritual world, right? So in the spiritual world is where you can see Krishna and Radharani, and the upside down banyan tree, which means the roots are there. And can it, now I'm going to ask you all questions. So I'm make it a little big, right? Can you tell me who this is in this picture? The whole thing, which is a reflection of Brahma, absolutely, very nice. And who's this? Favorite of me?
Ganpati Bappa.
Very nice. So you all very sweetly call everything with Papa. And, here, somebody who's having Veena. My cursor is lost. Sorry. Yeah.
Saraswati Devi.
Saraswati. Right. And here,
Saraswati.
somebody. Yes. Here.
Indra Dev.
Perfect. So very quickly, so these are all representing mode of goodness. The higher it is, it's mode of goodness. And we can see here liberation, because that's in the mode of goodness. Only then you will get that. The leaves represent, can you see the leaves here, which represent the Vedic hymns, right? And all Gandharvas are all in the heavenly planetary system. And here they are doing all yagna, all this represent the mode of goodness. Whereas if you see here, economic development, religiosity, these two are actually sort of in the, it's jumping into passion. You see business, all this is passion, right? You get into passion, and here ignorance, right? He's killing someone, he's behaving with a lady, sense gratification and all that. So this is the human life. So we also have a similar one in the animal planet, where cow represents mode of goodness, tiger represents passion, and obviously you see snake and other animals, right? So insects, whatever you call it, they all are mode of ignorance. So, I already everything is there. Dharma here, Artha, Dharma is religiosity, Artha is economic development, Kama is sense gratification, Moksha is liberation, right? So pious activities are listed on one side and impious activities on the other side. And this actually technically is the thing. Now tell me, do you see reflection anywhere in the world? Here, is there a reflection on earth? Do you see reflection at all?
Yes.
Where?
In the water, or we can say on the ground also, the
Very
shadow.
nice. Perfect. So basically 90% the basis of the reflection is the water, right? The medium is called water. In this case, the medium is desire. So on what basis the tree reflects? Here, the tree reflects on the basis of desire, right? And what is the thing which you should understand? The entire upside down banyan tree, as I said, are three modes. And what happens to all of us is we'll wander from one branch to another, either diagonally or horizontally or vertically. But the idea is we are just wandering between 84 lakh species, right? So that is what is the pictorial representation of this of the tree. So how do we come out of it is what we are going to learn in this chapter. So the three modes are nourished by desire, right? The more the desire or the type of desire, you get it. So what is this upside down banyan tree? Read this one, very important. Please.
Should I read Mataji?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So what are we telling? The branches of the tree are extending downward, and these are nourished by what? By the three modes, which we saw, right? The twigs are the object of senses. So whatever we see, those are the twigs. And whatever fruitive activities are holding us back. So how do we get out of it? So they have very clearly, so this is pictorial. Roots are ulta, upwards. Roots are downwards. Leaves are representing the Vedic hymns. The twigs will represent the sense object. Okay, the tip will be senses. I know first time when you hear it's difficult. You have to hear 3 times for it to sink in. So how are they nourished? By the three modes, right? And the living entities, what we do? Hop from one place to another. So this is what is happening throughout. So the only thing which, why do we have Vedic hymns? Because that helps you to elevate to the higher planet. So this is what they are talking about. So what are they talking about is the real form of the tree nobody can understand, because the real form is there in the spiritual world. We have lost memory of it. We can't say we don't know, because we've been there, but we've lost. But what we should do right now is we have to go to the real tree, means we have to cut off this tree which is pulling us down. How do we cut off? By a weapon called detachment. So that is what this particular thing is explaining, because technically we've always been eternal. Now, first of all, we cannot understand this tree because the roots are extended so much that you'll never be able to find out. But how to find the cause, we all know our father, go on like that. Ultimately, that person will end in Krishna, because everything originated. He is the Aham Bija Pita, right? So he is the father. So he is the source for everything to come, both spiritual world as well as the material world. Why should we know this? Because only then we will get. See, when I say cut off the blade with detachment, it doesn't mean that I'll cut off Papa, I don't want to, Mama, I don't want to. No, that's not what it means. It means that we really understand, yes, we've been having a lot of these relationships over many million years, right? But we have to understand the permanent relationship. Asanga Shastra, okay. Asanga Shastrena, right? So what is this mean? Shastra means weapon, right? And you help the weapon which is used to cut is the detachment. How? That getting rid of the modes. So how can you do that? Knowledge. That is what we are doing. The entire last 6 chapter is about understanding what all this jnana is to reach Krishna. 15.5 is to surrender to Lord. And finally, what's the point in surrendering? We will read the Supreme Abode. Hare Krishna. Yes, you can go ahead and chant.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha dvandvair vimukta sukha dukkha saudnair gacchantya mudha padamavyayantat. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So if you're free from false prestige, illusion, and all this, what will happen is you will be, first and foremost, what you should do, you should be free from dualities, happiness, distress, who's good, who's bad, all this you should be free. Only then you will be able to take it to the next level. So that is what is being explained so clearly here. And dualities means good, bad, anger, prestige, praise, I'm happy, someone curses me, I'm unhappy, all that you should get out of. So that is the first part which he's talking. Now we are going to move to the next part, right? The transmigration. What is happening in Purushothama? What is Krishna's role? 15.6. Yes, please go ahead and chant. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Na tadbhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavakaha yad gatva na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. So beautiful. Nice to hear you back. So what are we talking about is he's talking about, over there, spiritual world. Okay, this is for you. Word of caution. There is no sunlight and there is no moonlight. Is that okay? And how will you manage? Will you take torchlight? How will you manage if there is no moonlight and sunlight? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
How will we manage spiritual world if there is no moonlight, if there is no electricity, there is no sunlight?
Krishna's effulgence will be enough.
Amazing answer. Perfect. Krishna's effulgence, right? Yes. Attendance is posted. You can go ahead and do it. And yes, Krishna's effulgence is so powerful. So we don't need that. So we need sun and moon here, which is also the eyes of Krishna, only because of the fact that the effulgence cannot penetrate and will not penetrate this darkness. Characteristic of Supreme, we saw that it's not illuminated because it's self-illuminatory. 15.7, let me chant Hare Krishna. Mamai vamso jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashasani indriyani pakridisani kashyati. Hare Krishna. So basically, what they are telling is who is the living being. He says he is none other than Krishna's part and parcel. Because we saw, what are the 3 Shaktis of Krishna? What are the Shaktis? Forget the 3 Shaktis. Tell me what are the energies of Krishna. Maybe I'll change my language.
Material and spiritual, like internal and
Exactly.
external energy.
Material and spiritual. So what is it called?
Maya and Yoga Maya.
Yeah, Yoga, Maya. Perfect. It's called the internal and the external energy, which means Antaranga Shakti and Bahiranga Shakti. So from his Antaranga Shakti only we are there, right? Tadak Shakti. So who are we? We are part and parcels of Krishna. Including demigods are part and parcels of Krishna, but very, very much hardly we are struggling with the 6 senses. So that is what we are talking about. So what is the identity of the living being is original person. We are part and parcels of Krishna. Supreme Lord is the spiritual world. We all belong to the spiritual world. See, this is the beautiful world, but unfortunately we are here. So there was a very beautiful word. They said somebody is luxuriously suffering. Right? That's the only thing, because a person is poor or rich, this place is Dukkalayam Ashashvatam. So that is what it says, right? Hare Krishna. Yeah, 15.8.
Shariram yadavapnoti yachapyat yat utkramatishvaraha gruhitvaitani sanyati vayurgandhani vishyata.
What they're telling is the material world, like how aroma is carried, like that, life is moving from one body to another. That is a process of transmigration, right? That is the analogy they have given. And on to 19.9, what happens? Thus, a person will take different body, right? So when he takes a different body, until he takes, like human, I can control. I can decide, okay, can I get up at 4 o'clock Brahma Muhurtam? Yes. But if I take a body of an animal, let's say I become a dog, I don't have a choice. I will bark. If I become a pig, even if I like badam alwa here in this generation, or as a human, as a pig, I will go and eat stew, because I do not have control the moment that particular body is taken, because there the qualities are imbibed and I will have to adapt. But in a human being, we do have a choice, and we have the advantage. We do have choice. And that is why today I can decide what body I need, right? Including spiritual body. But what I can't decide is, if I get the body, okay, chodo, yeah, doesn't matter. After a dog also I'll do. No, that's not possible. A dog, you will basically behave in this fashion. So all this gross body, all this is like a package, right? And that comes, yes, 15.10. Hare Krishna.
Utkramantam sthitam vapi bhunjanam vagunavitam vimudhananupashyanti pashyanti jnana chakshushaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we cannot actually understand how to fix, right? We need a special mechanic, right? Who's having the knowledge like that. Somebody who is trained with the knowledge, jnana chakshusha means with the eye of knowledge, will only be able to really solve the problem, right? Because we need to understand. A fool can never understand what. Like my aunt always used to tell, how does it matter if I become an animal? You don't understand, like you have completely no control, right? So that becomes the biggest challenge. Now the transcendentalist who is very spiritually inclined will know what is happening and how it is situated. However, somebody who is not trained in the knowledge will not know what to do, and they won't bother. But ultimately, what is very important is, it's not about understanding jnana through jnana yoga, but bhakti yoga by itself will be able to give us complete clarity. So that is what C talks. So the first section talks about how to transcend the modes. Section B talks about how Krishna is playing the role, and how spiritual world is, and how the bhakti yoga process is very elevated, and how as a human we have control and we lose control the moment we take other bodies. Now moving to the C, Krishna's position is the maintainer. So what they are talking about, the splendor of the sun, automatically it removes the darkness, right? Like that, he is talking about Krishna by himself is very powerful. So now this is the cosmos. He is explaining the cosmic energy. He says that every planet he will enter and he will stay in the orbit, right? In the moon, incidentally, I learned it later after reading Bhagavad Gita, that if you see some plants grow only in the moonlight. Why? Because the moon incidentally is responsible for the vegetation and development of that. Therefore, every planet is, and he enters, basically we all saw, right? Mahavishnu, multiple planets, and what is holding? It is our Balram, right? So Ananta Shesha is actually trying to get a grip of all this. Just give me 1 second. Meanwhile, you can do the shloka and I'll be back in a second, and meanwhile you can read the translations. Hare Krishna.
Gama Vishya Bhutani Dharam Yam Yahamojasa Pushnami Chaushadhi Sarva Somo Bhutva Rasatmakaha.
Hare Krishna. So very clearly,
You can read the translation. You can read.
Yeah, I wanted you all to do the more than translation.
Yeah.
I wanted to read this gravity, this point, this one.
Yeah.
Gravity is a very important force. It keeps our planet orbiting sun and ropes our galaxy. So everything is perfect in our life, right? Sun comes, moon comes, goes, this goes. But what's so beautiful and perfect, everything falls in its place, right? So that if you falls in its place means it doesn't fall down, right? Can we do a particular thing? Even a drone, if the battery is gone, it falls, right? So look how everything is coming so perfectly in Krishna's world. The sun is coming, not one day sun has said, I'm tired, I have to sleep over. No. So this is about controlling the cosmos. And 15.4 talks about controlling your body. So there is a fire even in the stomach, which is provided by Krishna for taking care of the food. And there are 4 types of food, which he is going to, which you can read here. Yeah, please go ahead and chant this one. I'll complete it. Can you see the screen?
Mataji.
Yes, ma'am. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashritah Pranapana Samayukta Pachamyannam Chaturvidham. Hare Krishna.
Chaturvidha means 4 types of food. So the things which we chew, the one which we swallow, right? The one which we suck, and the other one which we, I always forget this, lick. So these are the 4 types of food. All 4 are taken care by Krishna. And so basically at cosmetic level, you need Krishna, and we also need him at the bodily level of all living beings. 15.15 Hare Krishna is a very important shloka. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivisto matta smriti jnanam apo anamsha vedeshu sarveshu ahameva vedyo vedanta krit veda videva chaham. So he's saying very well that he's seated in everybody's heart. So wherever you get remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness, everything is only through and by Krishna. So he says Krishna is the compiler of Veda and knower of Vedas. So why is this? So classic example you can understand is ourselves, right? We all write exam, but after writing exam, we will not know what we wrote. Experience, yes or no?
Yes, Mataji.
So many times, right? So that is why he is telling that Krishna is not only the writer of Veda, but he compiled Veda, but he also knows the Vedas. Not just in the Veda which is written by him, but all the Vedas talk Krishna as the highest. Also, you'll be wondering, why should Krishna give forgetfulness? Yes, if there is a trauma, we have to forget. Same way, if we remember the previous Janma, some student asked me once, Mataji, what if we remember? No, how can we remember? It will be nice experience. I said there are 2 options. Assume that we were better than the current person. So let's all assume that we are princess and queen. Either we will feel very bad, oh my God, I was princess, or we will feel I am princess, right? The ego is going to make us multifold. Now let's assume that we were a beggar, right? Or let's assume that we were a pig and we are here. Imagine looking at us, our own image of a pig, and we as a pig and licking stool, we'll feel very yuck about ourselves. Or we'll feel very proud. Oh, I was a pig, but now, look how I have a AC room, a beautiful room, a complete soft bed, right? So both remembrance can actually be more destructive to us or depressing to us. Either ways, it's not going to cause us any good. So therefore, the sun, moon, electricity, fire, everything is coming from Krishna, and that he is a maintainer of the world. And the benefit of that is explained here, right? So how at a cosmic level he holds the earth, gives vegetation, gives nourishment, and all this comes from the Lord. And at a individual level, we notice that from the body, right? The 4 types of food which we saw, swallowed, chewed, as I said, licked as well as sucked, all of that is taken care by Krishna. So this one, all the 4 stuff we have seen, and now we are moving to section D, where Purushothama, the very important sloka, 3 slokas, right? 16, 17, 18, summarizes the Vedas and the various type of stuff. So he's talking about the 2 classes of men, right? So he talks about relationship. This establishes relationship. What is the relationship which it establishes? It says there are 2 types of men. One is the fallible and the infallible. What is fallible? People like us, right? We are the fallible. That's why we've fallen from there. So everything here we call, all of us who are in the material world are fallible. All who are in the spiritual world will be called infallible. That means they are so perfect. So this is the picture, very beautiful picture, where I also have a doll which is similar to that. Let me show if I have it. I had something like this in yellow color. If I find anything. So spiritual world, they are what are called the Nitya Sati. Spiritual world also has 2 classifications. Both, it doesn't matter. One is Nitya Siddhis like Yashodama, Arjuna and all, where they are eternally siddhis. And we also have who are called the sadhana siddhis, which means that they do a lot of sadhana, which means practice. And because of practice, like how we are doing sadhana, we get up in the morning, we are listening to the Bhagavad Gita class. we get elevated. But once you go to spiritual world, there is no differentiation. It's not like, oh, you're waiting list, you're special. Once you go there, you're treated equally. But what I'm saying is just for our understanding. So just for us to relate how we fit in. Now, is there only two categories? No, there's a third category. Who is that? Krishna himself, right? So he's infallible, but he is the greatest person, and that's a third category. So Krishna is very clearly telling there are three categories: fallen, infallen, not and so on. So this is a picture of Krishna with the 16,000 wives whom he married. Does anyone know the story of this? How he married 15,000 wives?
Like he defeated some king and they were all the slaves of that king. So he made them all like this, like they wish to be his servant, something like that.
Right. Okay, that gives you a reason as to why he married. But do you know what happened and what are the circumstances?
No, mother.
So what happens is these are girls who have been kidnapped, but your base is correct. They all wanted to marry Krishna. So from young they paid the goddess Durga for getting Krishna as the husband. And third is they were all the sannyasis when Krishna had come in the form of Ram. Obviously he had this one Pati Virada, right? One single wife, Sita alone. Therefore, he never had a chance to get married to anyone. But these are rishis. These are all very big rishis who wanted to marry. And so he says that I'm going to come in my original form and then I will accept all of you all. Now, the story is, this is the internal story. So everything has two stories. The external story to the world is that they are all taken away by the Asura, and Krishna, along with Satyabhama, goes to bring them back. And after he wins over it, they request him that once, see, the olden days, the concept is very, every time, in fact, but now, of course, we become ultra modern to manage lives. But what happens is the girl moves from the father's place to the husband's place, and from the husband's place to the grave. There is nothing in between. So wherever she travels, she generally travels with the husband. And in case the husband dies, then she will again go back. That's a different place. Her son, will take care of her, and she'll, even then, they permanently live in the in-laws place. There's no going back and all that. So in this case, what she says is, all the girls says, suppose, now that I've come here and they've kept us here, they're not going to accept us. They're not going to even appreciate us. And it's an insult because these are all princes. So we don't have a choice. And that is when Krishna marries. And it doesn't end there. For each of them, he builds a beautiful palace. So there are 16,000 wives. And each princess tells the maid, their respective maid, hey, Krishna loves me so much that I'm really worried about the balance, other women, because Krishna is spending all the time with me. So he appears like a proper henpecked wife for him because he's expanding, into so many forms, right? So that particular expansion is called Prabhava Prakasha of Krishna, wherein he will be like cloned. Right? Cloning is a concept where identical people are multiple. Same way, 16,000 wives, he is cloned. So now moving back to the lesson, 15.8, please go ahead with the shloka. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, she's not there.
I said, oh, let me go back and share. Yes.
I'll try to chant Mataji. Yasmat Ksharamati Toham Aksharaadapi Chottama Atosmi Loke Vede Cha Pratitha Purushothama. Should I read the translation as well?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Because I am transcendental beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that supreme person. Hare Krishna.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So what they're telling is, he's telling, because I'm transcendental, both the fallible and infallible, and because I'm the greatest, I'm celebrated in both the worlds and in the Vedas as a supreme person. So he says that Krishna is both, because he, so this is what I was telling, right? First we saw his Sambandha, and so what is in it for us, right? Whatever we do, we always say what is in it. So he's now explaining what is the relationship. He's fallible, infallible, and now he's saying that, so he's giving you that. So he said, because we are beyond this, right? I'm the greatest. Therefore, I am celebrated in both the worlds, right? So, second one, 17 was a process, and now he says that he's being celebrated in all the worlds. So, what happens because of that? So, what is the big deal in being celebrated? Celebrated is such a great soul, we can go and reach that, right? He says, I am the super soul. So, he is staying as this Paramatma inside the heart of everyone. So, this is called 3 Shloka Gita, 16, 17, and 18. So, let's spend few seconds in this. So, what he is telling in 16, he says there are 2 types of people which are fallen and the one who is in the spiritual world, the liberated people. The second sloka, which is a 15.7, tells that the Krishna, so their establishment of relationship, right? So we are all fallen souls and all of us are part and parcels of Krishna. And that is the most important thing, which is the confidential story. More confidential part of the story is also this, right? Which explains the relationship. In fact, 7th and 8th chapter also explains the more confidential, not most is explained in 9th chapter. As to that, we are part and parcels of Krishna. Now, 15.7 tells that the Supreme Soul, that is Krishna, is the master of both, that is both Shara and Akshara, who's the boss, right? So this talks about, so this establishes relationship, this establishes Abhijaya, what do I proceed, how do I do? And he says that he enters all the 3 worlds and maintains. So he's talking about what is the process, right? How does he do? He enters the 3 worlds physically, cosmetically, he maintains, individually he maintains. And third, what is the advantage? What is in it I get? So Krishna is the supreme, he says he's the supreme soul, super soul, supreme soul, super soul, whichever is the supreme soul, he is the supreme personality of Godhead, and both the worlds celebrate. So the prayojan is you get into direct custody of a place where both worlds are celebrating him. So if you see this picture, it clearly shows Shiva and all of them are paying obeisances to him. So can someone tell me in the picture, Brahma is meditating on which Vishnu?
Yes, Mataji.
Can you see the Vishnu behind? Brahma is meditating. All the demigods are asking Brahma for help. And our universe is having Chatur Mukha, that is 4-faced Brahma. He is meditating on Vishnu, right? So which Vishnu is this? We have 3 Vishnus. So can anybody guess which Vishnu it is? And if you have guessed, tell me, how did you guess?
Is it Garbhodakasai Vishnu?
So if it is Garbhodakshai Vishnu, you should have from his navel Brahma. But Brahma is sitting in front.
Garmodakasai Vishnu.
Sorry?
Garmodakasai Vishnu.
Garbo, another one is Karno and Shiro Daksha.
Karno.
So Karno Dakshai Vishnu will not have Lakshmi. So it is Shiro Daksha. So basically it's a Paramatma. So Brahma is meditating on the Paramatma feature, which is in the heart, right? And through him, they can't see the Vishnu. Only through meditation, he will be able to hear the voice of Vishnu. And he communicates it to everyone. Now Shiva is explaining to his wife. Who's the wife of Shiva?
Parvati.
Yes, and they are supposed to be our uncle and aunt because they maintain our universe, right? She also comes as Maya Devi. She's also Durga Devi. And she's, who is she? She's also the, she's the one who controls the 3 modes. And oh my God, is she bad? No, she's not bad. She's working under the direction of Krishna, because Krishna is telling her to fulfill the desires of people like us who want everything, right? So this is a story in Padma Puran as well as in Vishnu Sahasranamam. So anybody knows Vishnu Sahasranamam will know this story where Shiva is telling, right? Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi sadayastam samarchanam. So what is he saying? This is in Padma Puranam, wherein Shiva is explaining, telling of all the aradhanas, worshipping Vishnu is the greatest. So he's explaining to her, telling that whom is he meditating on. And he says beyond that is to respect the devotees of Vishnu. So much of importance he's giving. And in Vishnu Sahasranamam, all of you must have heard this. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranana Tattulyam Rama Nama Varaname Shri Rama Nama Varaname Om Nama Iti. Right? So he's saying that if you do not have time, that's a Ekadasi day, and she's been so busy and she's been doing so much work. And she's telling Shiva, if I do not have time to tell thousands names of Vishnu, Shiva says, don't worry, you can tell 3 names of Rama, which is as potent as thousands name of Vishnu. And also there is one more Brahma Purana which says that if you tell 1 time the name of Krishna is equal to 3 times the name of Rama. So imagine how many times we are telling the name of Vishnu. Almost 3 lakh times, right? If you complete over that. So 15.9, yeah, please go ahead and read.
Yes, Mataji. Yo mam evam asamudho janati purushottamam sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarvabhavena bharata. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is to be understood as the knower of everything, and he therefore engages himself in full devotional service, O son of Bharata. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Very nicely you're reading. So he says that whoever knows me as a Supreme Personality of Godhead without a doubt, right? Very important. Shraddha is the base, and is to be understood as the knower of everything. Literally, he's the one who is the knower of everything, and therefore he engages in full devotional service. So he says that everything, all the devotional service, everything is totally engaging, and he is telling that, oh son of Bharata, is explaining this, right? So he says that without doubting, whoever has understood me, such a person will reach. So he is giving a guarantee, and that will start more in 18th chapter, but he's trying to build up. So he says that literally whoever believes in me means that he knows me. So you don't need to know Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. But if you just believe in Krishna, it means that the person knows everything. So all the most confidential knowledge is what is being addressed everywhere, which is the devotional service. 15.20, Krishna is telling that this is the final. Okay. The most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, he is highlighting this because every time we'll be confused, and many people create stories also. Arjuna is like this, all these kinds. So Krishna is giving a guarantee in 15.20 and telling this to Arjuna, O sinless one. So so many times he's telling. So it shows how perfect Arjuna's character and quality is. It is disclosed now by me. He's telling, oh, I am disclosing this. This is the most confidential part, and whoever understands this wise will reach perfection. Right? He's giving this guarantee. So basically, this is called Purushothama Yoga. So what are the 3 verses which he's explaining? He says that this particular chapter is the essence of Veda. And in fact, this Damodar month, they say that you should just chant the Purushotham prayers. And the most confidential part of Veda is mentioned here. Now, what is the result of understanding this? One will be able to clearly understand with perfection. So what's the advantage? So what is the qualification to understand it? Nothing. You just have to be sinless like Arjuna. So Arjuna is more like a daughter, right? A mother will never be able to question a daughter-in-law when she's coming to the house first time. So she will communicate indirectly to her daughter. So if she is doing something foolish, she won't yell at her, but she will tell her daughter, hey, I told you, right? The first thing, don't keep your gas on for so long, right? Just switch on and put it on, right? It's not the daughter doesn't know, but she's trying to communicate that message through the daughter to her daughter-in-law. Likewise, Krishna is communicating this to us, which does not mean that we should never undermine Arjuna. It's not like, oh, Arjuna didn't know. He's so bewildered. Is he confused? No, it is Krishna who's communicating to Arjuna. Is he really communicating to Arjuna? No, he's communicating to us via Arjuna. So Arjuna remains as the via media to facilitate this. That's why everywhere he says, right, Nimitra Matram, he's just an instrument, not just in the fight, but even in our knowledge fight. Right? So that's being clarified. So he's explaining the Vedas, and anyone who is wise reaches, and the qualification is to be sinless. So we saw 1 to 5 about the upside down, which is reflected based on the desire and the outside world, and how we migrate from one place to another, and how we can cut with a blade of detachment. And he also talks about Purushothama Yoga, which talks about 3 set of people. That is fallible, infallible, and above all Krishna, who is permanently infallible. Also 16, 17, 18 talks about 3 shloka, which talks about the relationship, Sambandha, Prayojan, and finally, Sambandha, Abhidaya, and Prayojan. Finally, how do you reach Krishna? And he is celebrated in both the worlds, is what is said in 19th verse, and 20th verse clearly says that by knowing that what happens ultimately, we need to be sinless to know this, and finally we reach Supreme Personality of Godhead. So with this, thankfully, we were very lucky and blessed that exactly Damodar time we had the chance to chant the Purushothama. So with this, I'll end the session. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya evacha patitanabhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha anantakoti vaishnavijay Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. Any doubts so far?
No, Mataji.
Okay, I hope you're following Damodar. Are you showing Aarti?
Yes, Mataji.
Very nice of you. Are you also chanting Damodar Ashtakam?
Yes, Mataji.
Very nice. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. I'll end the meeting and we'll have class next Saturday. Will that, if it's convenient, so that Sunday, Monday you'll be busy with Diwali, right? So we'll have the class on Saturday.
Yes, Mataji.
Right? Chalo. Thank you so much.